The concept behind Trip R is basically that I'd had a pretty tumultuous year in my life. And Trip R literally means rock and roll revenge, which was a line, something to that effect, that I read by Bono when he was talking about growing up as a child in Ireland, and everybody was pressuring him and his friends to give up the band and go get the good old standard job. And what he found was the best revenge that you could get was to be incredibly successful at what you did. My year started out with basically a con over in India. I was lured on a con with 10 other musicians to southern India for what was supposed to be a 20-city tour. And it ended up basically that one character that was on the tour had been pretending to be the entire organization and tried to make it all look legit by forging having different cell phone numbers and different Skype accounts and different Gmail accounts and things like that. So we ended up in India and the tour was non-existent. There was no tour, which took us a little while to realize. It wasn't, in fact, super obvious. He was pretty good at stringing us along over the course of a few weeks. So it was about 5 weeks before any of us really figured out what was going on and confronted him about it. After that, I came back to the U.S., and for about 9 months, we had been working on a tour. About 6 weeks into the first leg of the tour, I woke up one morning. I just had this feeling that I should be back in Colorado and meet the bus as it came west. And I did something that I've never done before, which was I actually bought a plane ticket and went right to the airport that day and left out of Chicago Midway and landed in Colorado. The next morning I wake up, and at about 7 a.m., all these messages had been left on my voicemail, basically from the other members of the tour. There were 8 people on our bus, and our bus had crashed in the Midwest, and all of our gear was destroyed, and there was a death involved. It was a head-on collision, and a passenger in the oncoming vehicle had been killed. And it was about the most horrible feeling that you can have. So it was pretty hardcore. That hit us pretty hard. We had to re-strategize and figure out what was next. I ended up back in Colorado. During all these things that had happened that year, I had brought my recording equipment with me to India, as well as on the bus. So I'd been recording what was to become Trip R at the time. The tour was supposed to last 6 or 7 months. So with all this newfound extra time, I basically figured, well, let's finish out Trip R. Let's make this record as great as possible and really deliver something that I've never done before. Like, bolt every lyric to the ground. Like, make sure that the thing is as good as possible, that it can be a really, really stellar record. So basically what was living room recording, and recorded in the dusty hotel rooms of India while I was carrying around a 40-pound power transformer, and on the bus that was destroyed in the Midwest. That living room recording and those Indian recordings basically became Trip R. The album has done really well on radio. It's the first album that I've really done the work to put to radio and kind of find out how to crack that nut. The song Ship of Fools, which was the first single that I released from the record, has stayed 6 weeks at number 8 against all major label bands, which was just really reassuring. I've always strived to make very, very relevant records. Even though they're low budget, even though they're in my home studio, I've really wanted them to reach out and communicate something much bigger than these little pedestrian recordings. And so it was very reassuring to see that the world, in fact, was enjoying the record as much as I could have hoped for it to. So Ship of Fools, like I said, stayed on the radio. It's still on the radio right now. It's come down a little bit. It's been up since August of last year. It was in the top 40 on modern AC radio nationwide. And just around the beginning of December, it kind of surprised everybody. Nobody quite expected it on our team to do as well as it did. They were hoping for maybe a top 20 song. Kept climbing and climbing, and then it jumped up to number 8, and it stayed there for, like I said, about 5-6 weeks. That was pretty cool. So what's next is a song called Gateway Drug that's in the works. I'm hoping that this song is a gateway drug for people into all of my other material, my other album material. And it feels like it's got some energy beyond what some of my tracks might normally have, that it may actually attract a new, younger audience, and maybe hopefully a more far-reaching audience. In our live show, it's already been a stellar addition. It's very, very quickly become the highlight of our show. Everybody in the audience pretty much instantly was singing along to it. We played it at the Gothic Theater with our good friends Savage Henry just before 4th of July. Our next show in Denver is April 23rd at the Soiled Dove, and the plan is to have the song released by then. So that's what's coming up next. Well, going back to my early records, so we were recording and releasing at least one record a year, sometimes 2 albums a year. So what we found as a downside to all of that productivity was that by releasing albums so quickly, it wasn't giving the records a chance to really live in the world and find an audience and breathe. It really takes a little bit more time, especially when you're on an independent level, to make sure that the record gets out there. I don't have the resources of a Lady Gaga just yet, where I can push a button and appear on every radio station and every TV show and every awards ceremony. By giving it more time to really gel and allow the music to find an audience and let the record be out there a little longer. So the album Trip R is available at iTunes, at cdbaby.com in hard form, as well as Amazon, and of course on my own website, Xiren.net. I hope that it continues to reach and grow and find an audience, and I'm constantly surprised by the response that I'm getting from it. So it's very exciting. It's been a very good year. So this is my this is actually my most recent guitar. It's a 59 reissue of a Stratocaster, and I actually had this, I came up with this design and had it laser etched into the guitar, so it's actually carved out of the wood. There's a video on YouTube about it. See this guitar? This is my very first guitar. I don't get rid of instruments, so yeah, I figure I can mark them up. This is my 76 Les Paul. This is a tank of an instrument, but a pretty standard weapon in most rock heroes' arsenal right here. And it's not very original. I mean, other than the wood, but the parts aren't original. Most of my guitars aren't. I have them upgraded. I have people that know instrumentation well kind of tweak it until I'm really happy and excited about it. Alright, now this is one of the earliest electric guitars. This is really my first credible instrument. When I say that, I mean this is like the first instrument I paid more than a couple $100 for. This is the mainstay of my live show. I use this, it's been with me in every show that I've done since I was, a teenager. It's gone around the world with me. I almost had to leave it behind in India to get my plane ticket through so I could get on the flight. It's been on every record, and it's just, it's my favorite. I know you're not supposed to have favorites. It's like favorite children. Alright, well I'm going to show you my luxurious recording studio. This is our closet, and it just happens to be fantastically dead sounding with all the clothes and everything kind of piled in it. It's a really perfect isolation booth. You got the control room for the recording studio. Yeah, I guess it looks kind of impressive because it's got cool lights on it and stuff, but none of this gear is extremely expensive. This is all pretty reasonable stuff here. Just learn how to make it work.